Lizzy now supports Tucker and their API for retrieving inventory information, part availability, ordering parts, and getting status updates along with tracking numbers. And in this video, we're going to go through how to actually set it up and then show you some of the functionality that exists. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go to Contacts, locate Contact, and find your Tucker supplier. From there, we're just going to go ahead and select the supplier link. And the first thing we need to do is make sure in the drop list at the top left-hand corner that we select the Tucker web interface. We also have a Tucker here. That's the old interface that we use for the CSV process. We want to make sure for this process that we have Tucker web interface. Once you select that, you're going to get some additional options here below the supplier account numbers for you to enter in your dealer number, the zip code, and an API key. The dealer number is your dealer number with Tucker. The zip code is used for helping display the inventory information, so it displays things closest to you. And it's also used for placing orders. So you need to make sure that you put the zip code in for your dealership. The API key you need to get from your local sales rep. So you need to actually call your local sales rep and request that information. And if there is any issue with them knowing where to get the key, you can call us and we'll get you in touch with someone that can help out with that. But the API key is actually required for making this work. Now, once you get that information in the system, the next thing is basically using the system. There's not anything else we need to do here. So we're just going to close this and we're going to go over here to invoicing and we're going to create a new invoice. So we're just going to tell it to locate a contact. I'm going to reset the Tucker search and we're just going to search for, actually, let me put in last name. We'll find the customer. We'll just pick someone. And I'm going to do a part sell. And we're going to go ahead and add a part. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell it that we want to add a part to the invoice. And then we're going to enter in a part number. So we're just going to pick a part here. I'm going to choose the Tucker part. And from here, you'll notice the availability link that we normally use for checking availability within the dealership. We actually, for certain interfaces like Tucker, you now have the ability to see the inventory information for their different warehouses, again, in the order closest to you and then farther away. Now, another thing that happens when you actually select availability is we also update the costing and the MSRP on the item so you know that you're actually selling everything at the latest price that's available from Tucker. So there's a few things that go on when you open this control, but the primary thing is that we now know that they actually have the parts in stock and can notify the customer appropriately. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add this particular item. We don't have it in our local inventory, but Tucker does. So we're going to tell it to add the item, and I'm going to add one more. So we're going to again choose the Tucker version of this. I'm going to choose availability. And for this item, you can see that there's actually none in stock. So I can tell the customer up front that there's no items here for this particular part, and Tucker out of them as well. So they're going to be waiting a little bit to get the item. So I can go ahead and make sure they're okay with waiting before we place the order. So instead of being reactive to the situation, we're being proactive and making sure that we give them as much information up front as that's available. So we're going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to assume that they decided they do want it. So we're going to go ahead and add and close that control. We're going to pay the invoice. And so we'll just come down here and say we're going to pay with cash, choose our cash drawer, and process the payment. Now, just as a quick way to get over to the purchase order, because that's what I want to show is how we actually place the order now, I'm just going to go ahead and go to the special order list. I'm going to tell it to view for the current invoice, and we're going to open up the detail on that particular item to get the purchase order number. So I'm just using this as a way to quickly get over to the PO. One mention here is that all of the information that we're talking about here is available both on the special order list for when the customer calls in and on the purchase order when we get ready to do things over there. So when I update and get tracking information on the purchase order, it's available here to notify the customer with as well. So we're just going to go ahead and jump over to the purchase order. We order the purchase order the same way we always do, so we're just going to go ahead and edit the PO. We're going to review the parts. We can add quantities. We can add additional parts, whatever we have to do. We're going to go ahead and go to next and tell it to place the order. Now, at this point is when we are actually exporting the order to Tucker-Rocky. Before, you would click export order and it would open up a CSV file to upload to their website. Now all you're going to do is click export order, and within a second or so you're going to get a notification back. Now the one thing is the order number. That's something that is used to share information back and forth between Tucker and Lizzy for this particular order. The other part is additional information that you may need to be aware of: superseded parts, back ordered parts. So if you remember from earlier, Tucker was out of one of the items that we needed, and so this note gives you information to let you know that there are parts on this order that you may need to call the customers about to make sure that they're aware of the fact they're going to be waiting on them. So it doesn't give me specific parts. To get that, I'm just going to come back over here to view last purchase order, and you'll notice that we've color-coded the items to tell us specifically what it is that is back ordered. And so we can come over here and view the customer that is actually waiting on this. We can view the original invoice. We can call them and let them know, hey, you are aware of the fact that you're going to be waiting a few days for this part, and either cancel the order if they don't want to wait, or leave everything alone. But we at least have the ability now to notify them up front, so that if they don't want to wait, we can go ahead and cancel this order before it actually gets shipped out. So at this point, the only other thing that I wanted to mention is what happens in an order status. And to do that, I actually need to look up another purchase order that has a status on it. So we're going to go over here to this guy. And right now you'll notice there's no tracking information or anything else available. We do have our reference number that we had noted earlier, but we don't have any actual status. So I'm going to come up here and select order status, and Lizzy's going to refresh the purchase order, but in addition, she has contacted Tucker-Rocky to get any additional information that may be available. Now you'll notice here in the header, there's two icons. There's a single tracking number and multiple tracking numbers. You would get multiple tracking numbers when the part had to ship from multiple warehouses. So you've got 5 coming in from warehouse 1 and 5 from another warehouse. In this case, we only got a single tracking number. So you've got the icon with the yellow cab. The red is for the multiple. And clicking on that icon will actually open up the details for whoever the shipping vendor is, so that you can get specific information about when that box is going to show up at your dealership. So that is pretty much the whole summary of how the Tucker-Rocky interface works. You have the availability over on the invoice. You've got your part pricing and costing information that gets updated in real time. And then you've got the ability to both send the order off electronically as well as getting your tracking numbers back. The only other thing I want to mention is that we also support drop shipping. So if your order is going to be drop shipped and you have selected that on the original invoice, all of that information is pushed over here and sent off to Tucker-Rocky as well. So the entire process for working with Tucker-Rocky is now automated within Lizzy.